Welcoming your whole self here into this moment. Senses wide open. And setting an intention for your morning practice. Perhaps your intention is to open your heart to more love and compassion, more self acceptance, more patience. Perhaps it's to touch into peace more deeply. Perhaps your intention is to clear the mind of distracting thoughts, of worries or regrets. Or perhaps it's to simply take a pause from your morning to set a tone, a foundation for the rest of your day. Our intention is like the North Star in the sky. When we lose our way, if we know where the North Star is, we can find our way back again. We know the direction in which we're traveling. Our intention helps to orient us, to keep us on the path of awakening, the path of compassion for ourselves and for each other. The path of truth. Whatever your intention is, breathe with it. Awareness of your breath that accompanies your intention and that can grow your intention in strength. And as we settle into this place and time, we notice our breathing, and we can invite our breath to become our anchor. Just like a boat that wants to park itself in the harbor, it lays down its anchor so that it can be more still and not wander away with the winds, with the waves. Anchors help us to be more still, more present. And so while our bodies are sitting still, our minds are time wanderers, time travelers. It's the nature of the mind to wander, to journey into future thoughts, planning, fantasizing, hoping, anticipating, dreading, worrying about what might happen in the future. And when we are not conscious that our mind has wandered into the future, it can create a lot of stress. Stressful thoughts lead to stressful emotions, anxiety, fear, anger, perhaps sadness. Once the stress response is activated in our body minds, it can just go round and round and round until, and this is the good news, we wake up. Just like the Buddha woke up, the Buddha was enlightened. The Buddha was also on a journey. He traveled here and there looking for enlightenment, looking for peace. He traveled all over the countryside and through the villages and towns. He searched and he was striving to find something that did not even exist outside of himself. And it was only when he stopped and sat under the Bodhi tree and became still, became quiet, and came into the present moment, all the sounds that surrounded him, the smells and the tastes, the sensations on his body, the sights that he saw. Only then did he discover the secret of enlightenment, of peace. It was already inside of him. And what was required was to still his body and steady his mind and come into the present moment. And allow everything that is in reality that's passing through to be here, allowing and accepting. So let us practice together. The breath becomes our tool, our pause that brings steadiness to the mind to come out of the future, to come out of the past, if that's where we may be traveling. Regrets, sorrows, shame about events that have already taken place, that are over. Our breath is always fresh. Every breath is a new opportunity to reset, to refresh. And it can help to steady the mind, to give the mind focused attention on the qualities of the breath, the movements of the breath within the body, within the sound of the breath. So you choose what part of the breath you'd like to focus on. Maybe it's the whole cycle. Breath through the nostrils, down the throat, into the lungs, filling chest and belly. In the reverse of that cycle, a softening of chest and belly, a movement of breath through the throat, up through the throat, and out through the nose. So you decide where to rest your attention. By now, you might have already noticed that the breath has wandered, or that the mind has wandered from the breath. And that's not at all a problem. It's just what happens. Our mind is like a little puppy dog that's curious and wandering and into everything, moving in all directions, sometimes running, darting. And our sitting practice, our formal practice, invites us to steady the mind. There's a word, discipline, that means to teach. So we're teaching our mind where we want it to rest, where we want our focus to be. And single pointed focus on the breath is great mind training. So come back, refresh, renew, start again, this breath. We can experiment once our mind has found some steadiness. We can continue to let the breath be in our foreground, our primary focus. And we can experiment by letting our awareness, some of our awareness, move out into the space around us. To notice the sounds. To notice sensations in our body and around our body. You can bring awareness to the aliveness of life pulsing around us and within us. The vast field of awareness itself that is alive. Alive with consciousness. We can further experiment and let our breath recede into the background, and the awareness of life around us and within us, to bring that into our foreground, our most immediate attention. And we're invited to watch the myriad of change, the change that is in constant flux. Sounds that rise, that peak, and then they soften and diminish and fall away. Even a steady sound that appears to be constant, like the flow of the HVAC system, the hum of a refrigerator, the ticking of a clock. When we tune in, we can see the very subtle fluctuations of change within sound vibrations. We might even notice the changes within our own body, that we have a hunger pang or some other sensation, an ache, a pain, a tightness, a contraction. We can just watch sensations move in our body, letting them come and go, so that our mind is congruent with the reality that's unfolding. The Buddha taught us that the causes and the conditions that happen in our personal lives and in the world around us are constantly changing. I used to have a bumper sticker on a previous car that said, "The only constant is change." And when we notice that our mind is resisting change, when it's fighting with change, when we're grasping and we're trying to hold on to something that's like sand falling between our fingers, and we're trying so desperately to grasp and hold on. Coming to our breath and just breathing with the sensations in our body that come from grasping, that come from clinging and holding on, and to just breathe with ourselves, to breathe with tenderness, with compassion, can return us back to the peace of the moment. And then when we noticed our angst start to rise again, our minds start to grip and grasp, our thoughts become busy, again and again and again, we come back, we refresh, we come back to our anchor, our breath. We come back to perhaps compassion for sadness that we may feel within our hearts. We hold ourselves tenderly and we breathe with the life force that reminds us each and every breath that we are alive. Let us bring gratitude to change. If it weren't for change, there would be no growth. We would be born and we would never grow. A seed would never pop out of its shell and shoot its stem through the earth and rise up as a beautiful plant or a vegetable for us to eat. Without change, if we had an injury, we wouldn't heal. The injury would just stay as it is. Without change, things become stagnant. A still pond that has no ripples, no movement, no change, becomes stagnant. And any life within it eventually dies. And so change gives us fresh oxygen, new vistas, to see new challenges, to become resilient to. And so just take a couple moments to perhaps reflect on a couple changes that you are grateful for. One that immediately comes to my mind is the change of this pandemic. That over the course of a year and a half that there has been a lot of change that has created much, much challenge and also much more relief. Perhaps even bringing your hands to your heart, gratitude for the changes that have perhaps brought greater abundance, more fruits, more enlightenment to your life. Breathing with gratitude for all that's here, for the life we've been given, for the measure of health that we have, for this land that we sit upon. Gratitude for all those that love and support us, our friends, our families, our Sangha. Gratitude to ourselves for showing up and giving ourselves this care, taking this pause out of our busy day. Gratitude for each other. Bring our hands together and bow to our hearts with gratitude. Bowing to each other with appreciation for all the aliveness that's here.